Survivor's ready. Go!
Travis spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you make me deal with the devil here.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk Lamely.
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only Survivor podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor. Bringing you today's interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Survivor Oz, Australia's only Survivor podcast to win Czech and Slovakia Reality Awards, or whatever Ben likes to spruce at the beginning of these episodes. That esteemed award that we've all got hanging on our walls. I am not Ben Waterworth, but I am the other half of the reboot. My name is Noah, and I am here to do the Oztopsy for this week, and possibly other weeks. We'll get to that in a moment. But also joining me, because in this special reboot, you have to have two people for the Oztopsy. This reboot is just week 3. First week, we didn't do it live. Second week, something went wrong. And this week, half of the people is not even on it. But Colin, you're here, though. Welcome.
And no matter who's on, we're always big in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, so that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. We're up there. But yes, Colin, good to have you on. Colin Hildy, the esteemed host of The Ozlet Show.
For this week, at least. The other reboot that's changing every week. On that show, it's supposed to change every week, so I guess it's acceptable.
Well, we decided to follow suit because we saw how successful The Ozlet Show was. So, and the esteemed host of The Amazing Race, Oz. Geez, I'm sure it's a great season. On to a few... And 007, download at 007.wordpress.com. On to some housekeeping matters. Ben is dead. I'm kidding. That was a cruel joke. He's not dead. Hopefully no one stopped right when I said that to cry, because he's not dead. That was just a bad joke.
He may or may not be cast on a famous reality show. Yeah. We can't say much about that.
We've signed NDAs, but Ben is not going to be around on these episodes for a few months. He's not quitting Survivor Oz. He may be getting a bit hungry out on an island somewhere in the South Pacific. I'm not sure. I'm not saying anything. I'm just throwing out ideas. So we don't really know what we'll be doing so far in terms of the reboot, the successful reboot, which, damn it, why didn't we just stick to the way we had it? But we will still try and get episodes out. It's probably not going to be live, although it would be fun if we could figure out a spree. We might be able to do that. Maybe, yeah. Colin, I don't know. We'll figure. I know Catherine and Zachary Chong will be devastated that it's not live. But yeah, he will still be at Reality Rally, maybe. Depending on if filming is finished. What? Filming? Oh, sorry. So you'll still hear from him. He'll be doing updates from Reality Rally. And if you're a big fan of 007, then he will probably still be appearing on that. Well, hopefully. Otherwise, tonight might be a bit awkward for me and Colin. So you'll still hear him, and he will be back. Maybe during this season, maybe at the end of the season. He is just dealing with some learning to make fire, but he will be back. So that's that out of the way. He's not dead. I'm sorry if I scared anyone there, or there may be some people cheering. I'm not sure. But if you were, shame on you.
We should say too. I mean, I think people should understand how much work something like this takes, and this is not a paying job necessarily. He has a side job, and even just from the weeks where you and I have side job, yeah, that's right.
That is a good way to put it.
Yeah, he makes good money on the side at least. But in all honesty, I mean, even just from the weeks where we've done it, I know there was one week where I recorded an Oztopsy with you, did an amazing race episode, did a recap with the contestant, and did an interview with Jillian, and it was basically like the most exhausting week of my life. And that's basically what Ben does every single week for this show. So I think he's due for a vacation if he wants to take one.
Yeah, he does that and the side job.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, interviewing Jillian, it's hard work.
It is. Ben's like, it'll be about 20 minutes, so it won't be too long. And an hour and a half later, I'm like, wow, I've got through 3 questions. That's good.
There's just so much happening at Reality Rally. Hello to Jillian, should you be listening. And go to Reality Rally. It's basically like a part-time job, almost, on top of a full-time job. And you're not even remembering 007.wordpress.com. Which those episodes are long, alright? They're very long. But that's if you've got any questions or comments or whatever, I don't know, write them in. Message Ben, harass him. No, don't do that. Just post them on the wall. I don't know what there is to question about it. He's not going to be here, but he'll be back. He's got to do some stuff with his side job.
Give us your crazy theories about what he's up to.
Yeah, we would love to hear that. Keep it PG. But yeah, I'm excited to see him on our television screen soon. Maybe. Let's move on. If you're listening, Ben, hello. That means you're not dead. Hooray. Alright, that's that. Colin, episode 3, what did you think? Actually, no, Colin. Wrong, what do you think?
Oh, I was so on the first 2 episodes. I mean, I actually did enjoy them, but I wasn't really loving the cast. And this was the week where everything came together for me. And if I go back over past season Survivor, it probably usually is the 3rd week where everything sort of falls into place. And that's definitely what happened this week. I mean, I thought there was so many good character moments in there, so much strategy going on without it being, your typical, all the strategy is just at Tribal Council. And I was really surprised when going through the episode to feel like this was such a jam-packed episode, and then when I realized there was, a tie vote, and I look at the clock and there's still 10 minutes left in the episode, I'm like, that's nuts. I mean, we had so much going on, and yet we still had a longer Tribal Council than normal. It was easily my favorite of the season so far, and I might put it up there as one of the best of the last couple seasons. I love the episode.
I think you were watching a different episode to me, because you said that there was a tie vote. I thought Beauty won. But I'm sorry.
Tie jokes.
Hashtag bring back Ben. Yeah, that was a horrible joke. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've been loving it from the get-go, so I don't know if I've had that. I had some issues with the episode just because I'm a bastard who always complains, but for the most part, I've been really enjoying this season, and I think we said on a past episode, it's up there as, like, when you compare it to Vanuatu and Nicaragua, I think it's off to the best start for a post-All-Star season, which is good. Hopefully it stays up. I thought there was a bit too much idol stuff. I'm not anti-idols. I know there are people who despise idols, but there was a bit too much idol stuff. But at the same time, at least it's out of the way now, so we can move on to bigger and better things. But overall, I thought it was a solid episode. I guess we will start with, well, I don't know if you've listened to the reboot, Colin, but in this new reboot, we don't talk about challenges, but let's get that out of the way. It was just a challenge. I like the rice kind of aspect to it, but other than that, I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, 3 days or so since the episode. I'm struggling to remember even that moment you're talking about. Was there something about rice in the challenge? I don't know. It's all a blur for me now. It was your typical challenge. I guess that's all I can say. Yeah,
that's what we do on the reboot. But I did like that they got their personal items as an option. That was kind of cool.
Are you messing with me, or did that happen?
What was that?
Are you messing with me, or did that actually happen? I'm still drawing a blank on the challenge.
Yeah, Braun's reward was the luxury.
Oh, that was a nice reward. That was nice of them.
Yeah, it's alright. We don't do challenges on the reboot episode, so that's fine.
In all honesty, the funny thing is that last season and the season before, sometimes I'd be watching these episodes late at night, and I know I'd have to get through it because we're doing an Oztopsy in the morning, so I would often skip the challenges, and then we'd talk about it, and I'd be like, I don't know. This was one time where I did watch the challenge, and yet I'm drawing a blank. So I don't know.
I'm going to go back to listen to past Oztopsy. Yeah, the challenge was decent. No, I don't like... If they bring in a reward challenge next week, or this week, and they have 2 challenges in the episode, I'm going to be angry. I hate reward challenges. Anyway, let's talk about the Beauty Tribe, or the Thai show.
Yeah.
This is kind of the happy-go-lucky tribe. There's no huge arguments. It's all about Ty, and I love Ty. He's up there as one of my favourite. Overexposure is never a good thing, I feel. I'll leave it at that. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, Ty's the only one anybody could really comment on. I think that Anna's taken a step forward in her strategy, but unless you're going just based on speculation, Anna hasn't done anything yet because she hasn't had to. I like the position she's taking. You know, I think that Caleb's playing it pretty cool so far. He's not doing anything really irrational, but yeah, I mean, Ty's the only thing going on, and that's 3 weeks in a row. So I think as much as I was loving Ty the first 2 weeks, it's becoming overkill now only because that's the only thing happening. And it's not even like it's Ty, like I think it was episode 2 where, you know, we had Ty and it was kind of his crush on Cable or whatever, and it was more about his
Cable?
Caleb.
Cable, you're in.
Cable. He has a thing for men in uniform. That's all we could say.
Yes,
but,
Cable is a diamond.
Yeah, but it wasn't even character stuff. I mean, it was all idol, and I can kind of see where you're coming from, even though I liked all the idol stuff this week because it was all stuff that we've never seen before. So the idol searches were new, finding the idols was different, but yeah, I think moving forward, if we don't start to see something else out of the Beauty Tribe, they just may have to do a tribe swap or something just so we can get an idea of where those people are coming from. And it's getting increasingly hard to do power rankings based on the Beauty Tribe.
It's like, oh, they're not that low, but you can't put them in the top 5. It's a difficult job. No wonder Ben quit. It was all because of the damn power rankings. No, he didn't quit. I did listen to your Oslo show in week 1. Unlike Ben.
More than Ben, yeah.
I didn't get a chance for week 2. We don't want to dwell on this, but we were very pro hiding an idol way up in the tree. What did you think of that? I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I liked it, and I think they dropped the ball a bit this week because there was a big deal made about, oh, you have to have this tool to get it, and in the end, you didn't need the tool, and...
Everyone lost the tool!
Yeah, this tool must have been really... really irrelevant because nobody even thought to pocket it. I mean, how many times have we ever seen somebody lose their idol clue or lose anything? But they tell you, this is what you will need to get the idol, and that people are just throwing it away. I don't understand. But I like hiding it in the tree. I think, again, this is something where they're playing with ideas, and they're almost right there. They've almost got it for exactly what you need for a good idol season. Maybe if you combine a little bit from last season and this season, it works. But the only thing I'm worried about is how easy it was once Alicia and everybody else got their idol. It almost made Ty look really dumb that it took him, 2 or 3 days to find his. So the idea of it's better than just hiding it on the ground or following a bunch of clues. But I don't know if it was really as hard to find for most people as I think they intended.
I think it's definitely a step up, even though this season's filmed beforehand. I liked idols at challenges, but the whole, Kelly Wentworth has to reach under the shelter, or Jeremy has to go for a stroll at night time, but it's there, lit up, waiting for him. I thought it was much better than that. But, yeah, it would be interesting to see what happens with Brains. Because I sense we're nearing a tribe swap. Will anyone get it, or it will be just 2 idols to the merge? But the rest of Beauty, yeah, you're right. Cable, or Caleb, is being recruited into the Women's Alliance. Nick is being targeted as a possible threat, and he is a robot. And the girls are sticking together. That's Beauty.
And we should say, that's a smart move. I don't know why other people haven't done that. We talked about this a bit on the Ozlet show this week, so I won't go into too much detail, but how come more people don't do that when you are faced with a potential tie vote? Just go in there and just say, hey, we're not budging, so one of you had better flip. I mean, it worked really well. I don't think it was, just the situation that, Caleb was already not sure of his position. I think that Anna presented that in a way where Caleb really didn't have a choice.
I think it's very beneficial that the men are so different to one another. Like, you don't have LJ and Jeremiah, who are quite similar.
Mm-hmm.
That's Ty, Nick, and Caleb are just very different. But yeah, who would you like to see go if they do go to Tribal Council? And we'll get to next week because that's going to be a unique episode. But who would you like to see go?
Yeah, Nick he's just that guy that even when he had screen time, he just doesn't catch on as a character. So I'm not really crazy about him. But at the same time, I was thinking the same thing about Neil for the first 2 weeks. And this week I didn't mind Neil. I actually thought, well, this is the type of guy who might become interesting later on. So I almost don't want to jump the gun and say that anybody should go, but I'm pretty much indifferent. I mean, it could be Nick, it could be one of the other girls in Anna's alliance who really are just there because they're aligned with her, Julia and Michelle. Any of the ones we haven't seen a lot of, but I mean, as soon as we start to see these characters develop, once they do have to go to Tribal, I'm sure we're going to get a lot more out of them.
I really hope we get to see... This was an issue with Cambodia, is I want to see Sierra, I want to see Keith, I want to see Cass. Like, when they don't go to Tribal Council, unless you're a massive character, like Debbie or something, you're just not going to be shown, or Ty. And it's kind of frustrating, because I do want to see, I want to get to know those people, but like Michelle and Julia, it's just... I think I wrote in my power rankings this week, Julia wasn't in this episode.
Well,
I did the same for Aubrey last week.
I'm still having a hard time... I'm not saying I'm having a hard time telling them apart. If it's the show and their name shows up on the bottom, I'm pretty sure who's who. But I've been looking up their pictures every single week when I am trying to do power rankings, because I'm trying to remember which one was Julia and which one was Michelle. Like, they haven't done anything to separate themselves at this point.
Yeah, it wouldn't have helped that you didn't really look at the cast too much beforehand.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had 3 weeks to look at them now. You think I'd start to catch on.
Well, based on your big revelation about the challengers, maybe not. Let's move on to Braun. The Braun story was Idol. Bam, idols are everywhere. This was just, from memory, there was nothing else at Braun that wasn't idols. Although, in fairness, they have had a lot of airtime because they went to Tribal the first 2 times. I can't tell if I love or if I loathe the Braun. Well, not loathe, but I can't tell if they're my least favourite tribe or if I really enjoy them. They're an interesting mix of people. But yeah, the idol hunt was, you had Jason knocking over Alicia, you had Alicia finding the thing, and then immediately... I tell you what, Alicia has a lot of fans, and I am an Alicia fan, but I think people are being way too kind to Alicia in terms of gameplay, and maybe we can talk about that, but I think people are mixing like gameplay with characterness, but we'll get into Alicia. But yeah, she told Sydney straight away, and then Jason caught them, so Sydney had what I would consider a good move, where she basically just said to them, look, she found the clue. I think that was a good deflection on Sydney's behalf, and maybe we'll talk about her as well. Ultimately, we had a cool kind of moment where there was Scott getting it out of the tree, and then everyone was waiting around. It was like, I felt like it was kind of obvious Jason would get it. Like, he just screamed a character who would have an idol to me. But yeah, it was kind of a fun little moment. Jason got the idol, and Scott and Jason are going to use it. But now everyone knows Jason has an idol, which will be interesting going forward in the future. But yeah, Braun and the idols. What do you make of this tribe and this idol hunt? It was a fun idol hunt in terms of idol hunts. I don't like idol hunts, but I like this one.
Well, I like idol hunts when they're like this, and it's something completely different you've never seen before. I mean, for us to go from we found a clue to we're all standing there waiting to be the first one to grab the idol. I mean, that's I don't think we ever expected we'd see something that was that close together. With Alicia, again, I love her as a character. She is hilarious, but any of the listeners can forgive me for just repeating what they might have heard on the other show, but this episode started with her talking about how Scott betrayed her trust. And Scott and her have never been aligned. I don't know if they've ever spoken to each other before, and that really just shows where Alicia's at in this game. And
well, I liked how she said that she was a roller coaster. First I'm up, and then I'm down. I don't know if you were ever up.
Yeah, I don't know what the up was. And just the way that Sydney is the one that I came out of this episode loving the most. Like, I could easily see her being a winner at this point. I don't think she's quite at the level where she has the numbers to go there, but based on the edit she's receiving and based on what we have seen, especially with how she was able to manipulate that situation, it really could go either way. You could look at that, 3 months from now, after the season's over, and look back and say, oh, I can see how she was actually manipulating Jason and Scott, or you could look back and see, I could see how she was manipulating Alicia, or you could look back and say, I see how she was manipulating everybody. I mean, she just knows exactly what to say and exactly how to handle every situation, and it's probably in her best interest to let a guy like Jason have the idol, because Jason's one of these guys who's probably going to go home with it sitting in his bag. He's a James Clement. I mean, he's not the type of guy I would think really is thinking about the game. He just has his mindset only on one person at any given time.
Colin. He is the best bounty hunter in Southeast Michigan.
The best bounty hunter never actually had to use any type of advantage like an idol when tracking down his Han Solo or anything like that. I mean, I could see him being a bounty hunter. It's interesting you bring that up because I just said how he's so fixated on one person all the time. It's always just, oh, Alicia, oh, Jenny, that he doesn't see the big picture. So it almost makes sense that he would be a bounty hunter because that's their job. They only have to worry about getting one person, not about a bigger picture or anything like that. The Brawn Tribe's kind of shaping up to me. I don't know if you see the same thing, but if we're going to compare this to the last Brains, Brawn, Beauty, and it's not that the seasons are similar at all, but they are like what the Brains were last time. They're that tribe that I just see completely self-destructing, but you'll get one or two people who really go far in the game because they just know how to survive amongst all this chaos. And I think it's the people like Jason and Alicia that are going to drag them down. But I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I don't know whether I hate them as a tribe. I'm definitely entertained by them as a tribe, but I mean, they're going to be a mess going forward if they don't get something together.
I could totally see Sydney turning on them at a tribe swap or a merge and joining with... Because like Scott has the target of the NBA, and then Jason just has a massive target on his back, just all the time. So I could totally see her flipping over, maybe bringing Alicia with her or something.
Do you think
Alicia thinks that Sydney is her number one? But
well, that's what's funny. I mean, with the idol search, it didn't make Alicia look good at all. I mean, she came out of it being completely fooled and not even really caring. I mean, she's not the winner in that situation. But do you think the idol helps a person like Jason, or do you think that just puts a bigger target on his back? And I think he's not the type of guy who's going to be smart enough to use it at the right time.
Yeah, well, that's what makes this idol so fascinating. Is I would normally say, sure, why not? Plus, he's got Scott to be kind of his guardian angel, but everyone knows about this. All it takes is for Alicia, and Lord knows she probably will, to just blabber one thing out, even if it's accidentally. And there's that, and everyone knows about it. So I feel like the fact that this idol hunt is so unique will play a part, perhaps, down the line. Because has there been many situations where everyone knows about it? Like, there has been, but not many situations like that. I know...
I mean, this goes further just because everybody was present when he found it. It's not just, oh, I saw it in his bag, he told
speculation.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah, so it will be fascinating. I can definitely see this backfiring. But at the same time, I can see Jason going far, though. I totally see him being a first jury member as well. Scott. I'm a Scott fan.
I'm on and off with him. I think that I was with him for the first 2 weeks, and the thing with the Jenny vote, I don't know if it really helped him, and I'm not really even sure the logic of it. Again, I'm repeating myself from what I said on the other show, but that's the type of move that you make if you want to protect a vote on the jury, and I don't know if it... I think, if anything, it's put him in the same position as Jason, where once it comes time for a tribe swap, he's doomed now, and Alicia's holding a bit more of a grudge than she should have. Like I said, the whole thing, he broke my trust, is kind of ridiculous on her part. But if that's the way she's feeling, I mean, that was a bad move on Scott's part. And I think it's quickly moving to the position where Scott and Jason are just pawns. So I don't know how strong he is in the game at this point.
He can't win, I don't think. And his Brawn tribe doesn't seem to care about his past, but I think it will play a part later on in the season. Although he's nearly passed Cliff in terms of finishing positions, and that was one of his goals. So there's that. But yeah, he's kind of a bit unique in maybe the basketball players are a bit nicer because all the other people are always villains, like John Rocker, Jeff Kent, Brad Culpepper. They're all villains, but then Cliff and Scott aren't really portrayed as villains. So is it something to do with basketball?
Hogaboom was more of a hero, but then again, I mean, he had that landscaper side to him. So landscapers tend to be very nice people.
Landscapers, yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, so I could see Scott making the merge, but at the same time, if there's a tribe swap coming, totally see him go. Alright, let's move on to Brains. Living up to their title from Kaoh, because this was totally Kaoh-esque tribal council, I feel like, just with the Brains being mental. No pun intended. But I'm a fan of the Brains tribe. I think there's a lot of good characters on there. It was a pretty interesting week because I'm not sure how much you talked about this, but it felt like Peter and Liz are a pair? Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess we had a little bit of that in the... Debbie and Joe, well, yeah, we did kind of have that. But then Neil and Aubrey, they're a pair? Okay. Thanks for letting us know about that. I did like the dynamic of having these 2-2-2 pairs, but it was kind of like... It wasn't really that obvious in the past. But... Yeah, we'll talk about the tribal council, but just in general, this Brains tribe, they're pretty out there, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, this is an example, I think, of where 3 tribe seasons, unless somebody does go to tribal, you're just not going to get as much, because you have so much time to, instead of just splitting it, let's say the first 30 minutes of an episode, outside of an immunity challenge and tribal council, first 30 minutes of the episode is the shared screen time. Of that, you only have 20 minutes, so that means in a regular season, you have 10 minutes of screen time for each tribe. We're probably more like 7 here, because there's 3 tribes, and for that reason, that's why I think it was weird, the whole Peter and Liz thing and the Aubrey and Neil. I think the only thing that really was set up was the Joe and Debbie thing, but I think that this being the first week we really got to see a lot out of them, I think we got enough of an explanation that things made sense. I agree with you that they're nuts as a tribe, but I don't know. Are you thinking, by saying that, are you thinking though that they're going to be a disastrous tribe like the first time with the Brains, or just that they're going to be ridiculous to watch like the first time?
More maybe ridiculous to watch, because I do think there are some level-headed people and some players in there. Plus, we're coming up to a swap as well. But I feel like the face of the Brains tribe is, and I need your opinion because I am absolutely on board with Debbie. I think she is amazing. We need to move her. We need to move with a purpose, Joe. I love it. After this episode, I do feel like she's actually playing up to the cameras. The first 2 weeks, I thought that was Debbie, and now I'm thinking maybe it's because she actually did pull off some successful gameplay. But I do feel like she kind of knows what is going to get a good I don't know if the producers are laughing at her and she's playing up to whatever they laugh at. But just the things like, Ed, when we get back from tribal council, kids, it's going to be crazy or whatever. I don't know. I feel like part of her is playing up to the camera, but I don't care because it's freaking hilarious. But I'm on board with Debbie. She's a player and a character.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about her playing up to the cameras, but now that you've said it, I think I can see it a little bit. She really is nuts, and this is, I think, going to go down as one of the most interesting power players in the history of Survivor once the season's done, if she can survive. If this is like a Jeff Varner where he comes out really strong for 2 or 3 weeks, almost as a way to just fool the audience, then, it was for nothing. But I would love to see Debbie go really far in this game, because I think that she almost is like, she's a type of player who is almost contradictory of what you see with her. You assume she is just completely bonkers and a total nutcase and probably going to be a disaster of a player. And then she gets a chance to play this week, and she does it really well. And I think that she has shown promise. Like that, I mean, it would be hard to get over the edit of how crazy she is, but she showed some moves this week where I wouldn't be surprised if I saw her win this game. I mean, it was really smart the way that she pulled everything together. Whether or not this tribe is going to be able to get her there, I don't know, because I think that there's so many pawns here. I mean, Aubrey is really nothing more than a pawn now. Joe's nothing more than a pawn. I have no clue what Neil is. It really is her show to run, but yeah, it's so confusing to watch her, because I don't think we've ever seen a player like this presented where we've been fooled that much as an audience into thinking she's going to be a disaster, and she ends up being almost a little bit brilliant.
Yeah, she's the idiot savant. But I'm trying to think, is there a comparison? I know there's a lot of, they say Coach. I don't see the Coach at all.
No.
Really.
Coach really was a disaster for his first 2 seasons,
yeah.
to be honest.
I'm seeing almost more of a Shambo mixed with someone who's a bit of a player. Like, just the way she talks and the way... Although Shambo definitely wasn't playing up to the cameras, I don't think. Well, we don't... I'm not sure. She's unique.
I mean, you could say Matt from Amazon. It was a completely different type of edit, but that was something where the first half of the season, you're almost expecting him to just have this glorious downfall, and then he ends up being this guy who goes all the way to the end and almost wins.
I'm calling it right here, right now. If Debbie and Ty make the merge, even if it's just... No. Even if it's just first jury member, I'm calling it, they will be returning players on the next returning player season.
I don't even know if they need to make the jury at this point. They're standing out so much. Good point.
Just based on this, providing they both want to return, I think they've got a guaranteed spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned Aubrey as a pawn. After 3 weeks, Aubrey will be an insignificant character. That's my prediction. I don't think she is going to be a major player. Like, it's just a fact, in 18 people, 20 people, not everyone gets to be big characters, even if they were playing the game out there. I just don't see her being anything too much down the line.
Well,
happily be proven wrong, because I do like her. But,
I don't know. I mean, if we go back to the first episode, really now we can start looking at people's edits based on a trio of episodes. And going back to the first episode, the only thing we really saw from her was that she was a potential either quitter or medevac. And now, 2 more weeks in, showing nothing from her, I'm almost feeling like that was just our mandatory setup for something that's going to happen in episode 4 or 5, and that she probably won't even be long in the game. I don't know if she would be the medevac next week, or it could even be something else, but I'm starting to think that might be the only thing we see from her the whole season. It was only meant as her setup.
Yeah, I totally see that. And it's almost, not quite, but almost episode 1, Terry Deeks last season says, yes, Spencer, my son told me, my son is a big Survivor fan, and he told me to align with you. And then we got a little bit of Terry Deeks, like episode 2 we had a bit, but for the most part, he was kind of a quiet character. Then he quits because his son is in episode 6, I think, because his son is in hospital. Yeah. So it's that setup just to give us a little bit of a hint. So I'm completely on board with that. I love Grouchy Joe.
He's so out there. Oh, I
was getting Rudy flashbacks with his workouts. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I said something, I don't remember which episode it was on. It might have been the second Ozlet episode, but I basically said that I think every season should have, the grouchy old man, and that I'm the type of person who loves when BB washed his shirt in the drinking water, because it's so absurd, and it's the type of thing would rub everybody the wrong way, but you love to watch on TV, and if Joe is that guy who's going to be spilling the kerosene and washing his shirt in the drinking water, then I'm all for that. Like, he doesn't need to be smart in the game. I just want this guy to be out there just making everybody else miserable.
Yeah, I thought I was definitely getting BB flashbacks in episode 2, and then Rudy. He's like the perfect combination of BB and Rudy, which I never thought we would have on Survivor. But yeah, I love it last week with. Oh, and now there's pathogens in the water, Liz. What are you talking about? Liz is making charcoal water filters and coconut catchers.
But
yeah,
I mean, is
great.
it going to be disappointing because they set up this whole thing with him and Liz? Now that Liz is gone, does he have another person to take that place? Is he the grumpy guy, or was he just the guy who couldn't stand Liz?
Yeah, well, maybe he'll move on to Aubrey. She doesn't do anything. He just moves on. But
Neil's got that stupid bow tie and those pants.
Speaking of Joe, he talks pretty crystal clear, as I am now talking.
Wow, that's amazing. The sound quality just cleared up out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this reboot is just like we're a roller coaster. Sometimes we're up and we're down, but now we're up. We're definitely up.
It's part of the theme. This is kind of our art house podcast. We decided that in rebooting, we wanted to reboot the audio halfway through. It's just an artistic little thing we're playing with.
It's kind of like showing the progress. It was at the start, that was the beginning of Survivor Oz, and then we're slowly moving on, and we're into the kind of the middle period, and who knows what will happen at the end. Yeah. But
by the end of this, Noah will be dead or on your television screens. Yeah. We don't know.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. And also listen to the Ozlet show. They've got good microphones. Neil, Mr. Snake in an Ice Cream Pants. I'm not sure what to make of him because he is an interesting character, but he's really good on Twitter. But he seems really level-headed in the game, and we're not really getting a whole lot of kooky Neil, because maybe that's because of the edit, or maybe it's because he's really trying to play the game hard and doesn't want to come off as kooky. But I feel like we're getting Neil in plain pants and not Neil in ice cream pants.
I said at the beginning that there was something about Neil this week where I started to get him a little bit, and I've been so critical of Neil up until now. I thought that he was the dullest person we've ever seen on Survivor. And the funny thing is, I don't even know if he talked this week. But maybe it was just the fact they were drawing attention to his, ridiculous wardrobe. I think there was also something with him in Tribal where you could just see this look on his face, like he knew what was going on and he was starting to enjoy it a bit. So I have a little bit more patience now for Neil. And I think we might get something good out of him going forward. Maybe it's just the pants talking. I don't know.
This was... Neil and Aubrey were set up as targets, but we knew it was going to be Peter or Liz. Mm-hmm. It was kind of reminds me of episode 2 of last season, where there was no question. It was Shireen or Spencer going home. And it was kind of similar to that. I kind of like how they do that every now and then. How they don't hide it, but you still don't know for sure. But yeah, even though Neil was a target, I think we all knew he wasn't going home. This guy has been copying a hell of a lot on the internet, not even after last episode, but since episode 1. But I have to say, after last episode, this guy might be my favourite player on this season. I love Peter.
Really?
I think he's great. I think he's amazing.
Well, here's the thing. I think we all thought he was a good player for the first 2 weeks, especially after last week. I mean, all of us thought that he was going to be the winner of the season almost off episode 2. This week, I mean, he's going to take a big hit. But as a character, he started to step out, and he's that cocky, pompous, almost high school bully character. I compared him the other episode to Alex Bell from Amazon. Just so full of himself and almost rubbing it in people's faces and just oblivious to how bad he is socially. But yeah, it made him memorable, and I hope that he does stick around for a while. I want to see a turnaround from him. I would love to see this be like a Spencer story, where he realizes his mistake and then tries to redeem himself. But I have a feeling that's probably not going to happen. I have a feeling he's going to end up on a tribe swap and doing the exact same thing all over again.
Although we'll get to Liz, because she got a lot of airtime too, not just this week, the whole time. he is getting a bit of a big edit, so maybe he does make it to a tribe swap and he's on, there's always the obligatory winning tribe. So maybe he will be on that tribe and makes it to the merge and get something going. I just think a lot of people are hating on him, not even episode 3, episode 1 and 2 for being too cocky. He's cocky, it's not a question, but then I look at these people who are saying this are probably Tyson fans. Yeah. They're probably Richard Hatch fans. It's just funny how people pick and choose who they're going to hate based on one certain trait, when there's been plenty of cocky contestants out there. I don't know if I like Peter, but I'm loving him as a character because it's entertaining as hell.
Yeah, I mean, he had that quote this week. What was it about paternal instincts or something like that? I can't remember what it was. There was the whole clay being molded. I mean, his and Liz's quotes just kind of meld together for me because they were both so arrogant. But I think there may be a bit of a difference with characters like Tyson and Richard who are kind of self-aware with how arrogant and pompous and cocky they are. They almost play up on it a bit. Whereas with Peter, I think he probably does really think he is that good, and it's not so much just the character. But either way...
Maybe Matt Quinlan.
Yeah, he a little bit more of a Quinlan, I think, but I mean, he's definitely more entertaining than Quinlan, I think, so far, and I agree with you. I'd love to see him stick around a little bit more, because these are the type of characters you need, and I missed Survivor in the last couple of years, where you would have these players who were so bad, but you needed them there to just screw everything else up, and that's what Abby Maria was to me last year. I mean, it wasn't any similarity to Peter, but somebody was just made all the wrong moves and just did things that screwed everything up, and it just keeps you questioning what's going to happen next in the game. And Peter could be one of those people, because I think that he honestly does believe that he is has reached godlike status in Survivor after one tribal council of being on the losing side.
Peter could be the Drew Christie that could.
Oh, there's a comparison. Drew Christie.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I could totally see this being, because Spencer was in the exact same position, not being uber cocky, but he was in the position. Anyone want to welcome me to the bottom in Cagayan, and that was after episode 3 or 4, you could say, depending on your view on what the premiere was.
And the exact same thing in Cambodia too.
Yeah, and he turned around. He never won, but he made it far. I could people were kind of viewing Peter as he's out next week. I can see that, but I could totally see him making it far into this game.
Let's be honest. If all of the characters that rubbed you the wrong way went as soon as they rubbed you the wrong way, this would be the most boring show on the planet.
Yeah.
If everybody had their way, Debbie would have been gone after the second week, and then we never would have had an episode like this one. So keep him around as long as you can.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did love... we're not doing your plan, Neil, but let's just put it out here. We're voting for Neil and Aubrey. Oh, what are you doing? But the editing has been on par this season, or on top this season, not just in evened airtime. I know there's some invisible, Julia, Michelle, and all that, but I was so convinced Peter was going home, because his first confessional was one of the most cockiest things ever. Then throughout the whole thing, and then the tribal council thing, and maybe my opinion was slightly skewed only because Zachary Chong tagged me in a status on Thursday, and I wasn't watching the episode live, and I didn't really think, and I opened my Facebook and I saw the words Peter, and Zachary Chong had tagged me, and he keeps giving me shit because Peter is my winner pick. Pre-season was my winner pick. So I was pretty convinced Peter was going home, and then I was kind of upset because we'll get to Liz, but yeah, I was blindsided by that, partly skewed. But what was your take on the Liz versus Peter?
No, I think that they set them both up evenly this week, so it really could have gone either way. But the thing that's making the editing this season so brilliant isn't so much about whether they're able to fool you in the episode or not. It's how they're able to fool you from one week to the other. Like I said, we all thought Peter last week was the king, and we all thought Debbie was dead, and it's a complete reversal this time. And I think that's what's really setting this season apart. And they did a little bit of it last year, especially with Varner early on, And I think we could also say Abby Maria, almost setting her up every single week. Well, she has to be the one gone. And Varner, like, he's going to take control of this game. We've seen that now with several of the players. And I think 3 episodes in, it really hasn't been obvious any week. It may be obvious by the time you get to Tribal, but leading up to that, they're doing a really good job of hiding who are the good players and who are the bad ones. And I like that also at the same time because we're getting every character's best and worst every week. So if somebody like Peter can completely turn this around and make it to the end of the game, we're still seeing the faults. And that's what the early seasons of Survivor were really built on. So you had Richard Hatch, who went down and still to this day is considered, one of the most brilliant winners ever. But yet his first episode was so bad, and that's what we need more of in Survivor, not these perfect edits. We need these characters where we're not sure going to the end because there's at least those 1 or 2 moments where they just sucked really hard going into it.
Well, yeah, the other thing is Liz did have the thing last week with Joe, so I guess it was a bit of foreshadowing, but at the same time, she was a hell of a lot of airtime for a third boot. And it depends on when they do the next All-Stars. Kaoh Rong is in a funny position like Nicaragua and Vanuatu where they're just after, so they have the biggest break between All-Star seasons, but I can totally see Liz being another Kelly Wentworth where she's early boot, that she kind of has a cult fan base, and then they bring her back, she makes it far into a big character.
Yeah, I don't really get those characters, so I mean, I would be happy if Liz came back. I think I would be a little bit happier than when Wentworth came back, just because Wentworth was profiled as a character who deserved a second chance because she complained, and I know her fans are going to hate this, but it was basically she complained a lot that her dad screwed everything up for her instead of actually owning up to her own game. Liz is somebody who I think made a bit of an impact because she made a big mistake in the game. So I would rather see somebody come back like Liz than somebody like Wentworth. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that she probably will take on that cult status, for better or worse.
I have to say, I'm not a huge fan. First episode of Maya, she might be a big character. Go far. Not huge on Liz. I like Peter because he's cocky, but Liz kind of like last week when Joe was being grouchy at her, she got the kind of the sad music kind of edit and was supposed to be, oh, Liz. But she was the one who kind of came off. I know it's all editing. Like we're talking in terms of a 40-minute edited show. But she kind of just came off as the one like, oh, she's kind of being a bit annoying. So I have to say I was actually happy that it wasn't Peter and that Liz ended up going home. And I'm happy if we never see her again on the show, really.
Now, I kind of like her cockiness, though, for the same reason I like Peter's. But I think that I'm with you that last week it was a very different type of character we were getting, which made this week kind of more random. But again, we could chalk that up to the fact that they have 3 tribes and you don't get as much from everybody. But the cockiness, I think, is the one thing I will remember from her. And I'm also one of those people who would love to see a Heidi back on Survivor, and Liz is pretty much, I think, the successor to Heidi, just didn't make it as far in the game.
I think in talking about returnees, I think Peter and Sydney will be ones to watch because I was thinking about this yesterday, and with Jeremy and Tasha coming back, they've kind of used up their... I know Peter is not African American, but he is an ethnic character, you could say, like a minority character. If they want to have another returnee, not even another second chance, but, fans versus favourites are usually 2-time players or whatever, their options are kind of becoming limited because you've got people like Will Sims, like they're not bringing back, Cliff, probably not, Bryce.
Darnell, too early.
Darnell, Marisa was very early. Marisa Jatia was an early boot. I'm blanking on her name. Oh my god. Val is an early boot, although a memorable character. So I've actually been kind of watching Sydney's and Peter's edits through a different lens to see, are they purposely trying to build up these characters as returnees, even if they're not great players or not even great characters, because their pool is being quite limited. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, and I'm not saying they are doing that. I'm just fascinated to see if they will try and build these characters. But yeah, so Liz goes home. Peter, anyone want to welcome me to the bottom? Next week, it's going to be a big one. Jeff Probst is really hyping it up, so it's probably going to be nothing. But this big Medivac thing, they're getting the camera. They're showing cameras. There's multiple people being treated. I think I saw.
It looks scary.
Any thoughts on it? Yeah,
That's
it does look scary. Any prediction on who it might be, or any hope or guess? Well, not hope. You don't hope anyone's nearly dead. But...
I really hope to see this person dead this week.
Any guesses or anything?
Let's be honest, though. If anybody reads Survivor Sucks, that won't be the first time somebody says, "I really hope this person dies."
That's a good point.
But no, I mean, it's kind of awful that we have to have a medevac in this episode, because I think this is usually I'm all for medevacs because it is very dramatic. And it does help you to weed out a few people earlier in the game, because the game gets more interesting later on. But this sounds so superficial. I would rather they wait for their medevac until after Beauty's gone to Tribal, because I still want to see what they have. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably not going to be somebody on Beauty, just because we saw so much of them. Maybe Aubrey, because she's so weak and she needs to fire. I don't know. But yeah, it's the preview was really hard to figure out. They did a good job, I think, of hiding whoever it's going to be. And of course, this time next week, somebody's going to listen to this episode after they know who it is, and they're going to go back, well, I could totally see. But no, right now, nobody has any clue based on the preview. But I mean, it's going to be dramatic one way or the other. It looks like, to me, just from the few seconds we saw, like it's going to be like the scariest medevac we've ever seen.
Yeah, I feel like it's not going to be surely someone who's a massive character. Like, are they really going to, in episode 4, pull a Mike Scoopin on us? Surely it's going to be one of these either lesser or middle characters. Mm-hmm. Like, surely it can't be tied right now. It's a Medivac or something. But it will be, maybe it's two
tree?
people.
Yeah, it's going to be the tree.
Yeah, the tree, the chicken. Yeah, it could be multiple people, because they really are building up this Medivac season. So what if 2 people in one go? That would be dramatic.
I think they may have the show closed down, or at least the challenge. The FCC is going to come in and reevaluate their challenges going forward.
One thing I was thinking about is it seems like they're really a lot more open to showing the fact that Survivor is a TV show now. Mm-hmm. And I think that stems from the Dan Foley reunion thing. They showed that raw footage, and Jeff's like, it's really boring. Here's the footage. Because then you think back to last season when Joe collapsed. I'm pretty sure they showed cameras there as well, didn't they? So it feels like they could easily hide the cameras in the edit if they wanted to. But it feels like they're very much open to that because they think it adds extra drama or something like that.
Yeah, it's giving it that trauma, life in the ER feel or something like that.
Maybe we'll finally see Terry from... he's hurt pretty bad, Terry. the return of Terry. But yeah, it's going to be a fun one. My hope is it is a reward challenge that this happens in, and then we also go to Tribal Council. Because that means it would take us down to 13 people. Then my hope is next episode they keep it as 3 tribes, go to Tribal Council, and then we merge at 12 with 3 tribes. But more than likely it will be a reward challenge. One person will go Medivac, and that will be the episode. But
yeah, I mean, we speculated about this a little in the Ozlet show, and obviously they have plans for some type of double elimination, whether it's just 2 in one episode like they've done in the past, or both or 2 tribes going to Tribal at one shot. But I think they kind of built those things in there as a way for medevacs, where in the event that a medevac happens, we don't have to do that. I think it's still early enough in the game where even if this happens at the full-fledged immunity challenge, they might still be able to determine, a tribe that goes to Tribal out of that. I don't know, but I'd like to see them actually go as long as they can with the 3-tribe format, just like you.
I'm totally fine with 2 people going next week. Not that I want everyone to go. I'm really liking this cast. But
as much as you're okay with 2 people dying next week?
Yeah. This season could also totally be a final two.
Yeah.
But we're really getting ahead of ourselves. That's that. It was a fun episode. Let's get into some of these. I don't have all the predictions. I'll have to get them off Ben if he replies. He may be on an island somewhere. So that and the sweep I don't have open, but we'll update that next week. But some of these final questions, though, who will be next to go?
I'm going to take the medevac out of there and say... I'm just going to hope that Beauty goes. I'm going to say Nick. I don't think that he's getting set up for a long haul in the game.
Yeah, when I did my power rankings, I totally did not take the medevac into account because we have no clue. Who will win this season?
Oh, I kind of have three people right now I'm thinking about, but just because I think she's the one I'm going to be rooting for the most, I'm going to go with Sydney.
Oh, that would be interesting. I think Ty. I don't know.
Ty is the winner of Survivor. Go wrong.
He would have the jury votes. He just needs to get there. I don't know. Who is the dark horse?
After this week, this is one of the other ones I was thinking about putting up there. Debbie. I still think that she's a dark horse, but yeah, she has potential.
I don't think she will win, but I think she has potential, and that would be fantastic. I think that's... I don't actually have the questions open. I'm going off the top of my head here. Who... Are you a brain, a brawn, or a beauty?
I'm all three in one package. That's what I am.
Ah, the fourth try.
I hear it all the time. People are like, you got brains, brawn, and beauty, Colin.
Yeah.
You're the whole package.
Who out there this week, that's the kind of new question we've been doing this time, who out there this week has played the most like you would play?
Again, probably Sydney. I'd be the one who'd be trying to play everybody off of each other and wanting somebody else to take the target. I really like the way she played the idle thing this week.
I would be like Alicia. I would be like... I would be thinking, oh yes, this person's my number 2, and this person turned on me.
Yeah, this guy I've never talked to before. He betrayed my trust.
I would be thinking that I've got this game figured out, but no one's actually aligned with me. And then I would find an idol and someone else would get it.
This cameraman is stealing my socks when I'm sleeping. Yeah. This producer is hitting on my girlfriend back home.
Damn Terry. So that's that. I think that's all the questions. This was a bit of a rough one. Because it was a bit last minute. Next week, we hope to be a bit more organised, even though I have no clue what's happening next week, or even this week. It may be me and Colin for a few weeks. Ben did say that he may pop in on an Oztopsy every now and then.
Once the coconut phone's up and running there, he'll have that.
Yeah, that's right. When he gets the sprint reward. So you may actually hear from him sooner rather than later, and he's going to be at Reality Rally. But yeah, I don't know. Let us know your thoughts. The reboot has been a mess. Do you want it me and Colin? Do you want it me and Riley? I don't know. We'll figure it out. We could do rotating people. We could merge the Ozlet show and the Oz. We could do anything. So Zachary and Catherine, let us know.
We could do Zachary and Catherine as the Oztopsy?
Yeah, they'll be on next week. And yeah, like I said, I'd like to do a live one at least every now and then, because that's always fun, having the people interacting while we're there.
We'll try for next week. And in the event you're listening to this next week and we didn't do it, we're liars.
Yeah, we never tried. Yeah, it's all a bit up in the air, but we'll figure it out. We'll be a bit rocky, like the Medivac. It will be a bit unexpected, but we'll figure it out. Colin, tease up what's happening with this Ozlet show thing. Who's hosting next week? Are you going to bring in... Did you bring in any people who are listeners to the show? Did Kristen make her big comeback? What's happening?
Well, Kristen's been on 3 weeks in a row for Kristen fans, and we think she's going to be in it for the long haul right now. This week we saw the return of Alex Morella. We saw the return of me hosting, and next week... It's up in the air, but we're hoping it might be Nick's return, and if it's not, we're liars, and we're glad Patrick was able to step in as well.
Yeah. Fun. Seems like you got it figured out.
Yeah.
Fun time. And will you be bringing in listeners, or is that dead in?
Hey, you know what? If listeners want to, that offer's completely open. If somebody listening to this show hasn't heard the Ozlet show yet, we did have some interest in week 1, but of course, with everything going on this week, I don't know if there are any people messaging this week like the first one. But we are dead serious. If listeners want to come on to do a segment on the show, talk about the latest episode of Survivor with us, just message us here. Message us individually, whatever you want to do. We'll find a way to make it happen and get, if we can, one fan on every single week just to talk up Survivor a little bit.
And you have to give the secret password if you want to come on.
The secret password is Fatty Esther.
It's a mystery as to what that means, but
or the secondary secret password is duh.
To track down what these secret passwords mean, you're going to need to do a bit of research, but you'll find it. And the Amazing Race, that's a thing. This season's airing now, apparently. Yeah,
we already said we're going to be doing a little bit less Amazing Race this year. We were hoping to recap this week. I just had Rossi asking me if we were. Rossi, if this is the first you're hearing about it, we're not recapping this week, so you can go to bed.
You didn't give the secret password, so you're not on.
But, I mean, at the very least, we are still going to be doing something this season, even if it's as much as... We've already done, one episode, even if it's as much as just a mid-season recap and end of season, but we'll try to keep up on it once things settle down a little bit in the next week or two, and we figure out a schedule for everything.
Good season?
It's not a bad season. If people aren't watching The Amazing Race, my wife, I've been trying to get her into it for the last couple of years. She won't even really... She'll watch the Canadian version, but won't care about it. She's enjoying this season, so that says something.
Yeah, if people aren't watching it. 007.wordpress.com, Eurovision, I think that's dead.
Qualifying lap,
The Brink. Ben on Rob Has a Podcast, that's where he's gone. He got a job offer from Rob Has a Podcast.
He's joined former Ozlet Aaron Robertson on Rob Has a Podcast.
Yeah, Ben is now the new host of The Tribe. Or what was that? Phil and Bill, or whatever that was. Phil, Bill, and Ben. Or I don't know. Purple Rock Podcast with Ben Waterworth. Something like that. That's it. This was an interesting one. It was delayed. Even if we don't do it live next week, hopefully we get it out a bit earlier. I don't even know when this one will be going out, but hello, Catherine, and everyone else. Thanks for joining us. Again, it will be rough for a few weeks, but we'll figure it out, and then by the time we figure it out, Ben will be back anyway. So, we'll just keep the show. Will go on. Colin, thanks for talking about Survivor twice this week. Lucky you didn't have to do the recap either.
Yeah.
I think people would... yes, Colin, we know your opinions on this. Thanks for joining and stepping in for this third reboot episode. Filling in the gap.
Bye.
And, we'll be back maybe next week. Who knows? I'll be quitting next week. But fun times all around. This is a great season. Leave a comment, questions, whatever. And we'll speak to you next time on The Train. Goodbye.